But I'm probably going to cut that part out of the video. Hello future people, Jason the Bruce here with Getting Tabled, and today I'm going to go through the second part of the unboxing for Wave 2 of Chronicle X. Chronicle X is a board game that was done by Archon Studios on Kickstarter in 2019. Parts of this are very late. Some of these parts we knew were going to, well, we knew it was going to be late if you were paying attention. But stretch goals and so forth, from memory, were always supposed to be happening after the initial release. So I kind of like that you're not delaying the stuff that's already ready for the stuff that you haven't made yet. But today we're going to go through the cards, the books, obviously the miniatures that I hadn't built yet. I just want to touch on one thing very, very quickly. In the first part of this, I made a comment about how I didn't remember what was coming in the pledge. And I kind of said it with a cheeky grin, but never actually explained that I do realise I could have looked back on the Kickstarter page and tried to find out what was coming in it, but I chose not to do that on purpose because I wanted that fresh... I don't know, I was trying to take advantage of it to get a better video out of it, I suppose. So hopefully that came across in the first video, but I just thought it was worth touching on that just in case it wasn't that obvious and people were wondering, well, why didn't he just go and look at the Kickstarter page? So here we go. We have lots and lots of stuff, including some lovely miniatures. I'm such a tease. Alright, let's start with the obvious stuff. So these are very clearly your character cards. You've got leveling up abilities, which is nice. The stuff that's in your backpack. So it feels very Zombicide in that way. These are kind of all the same. So, scene one, seen them all. I suspect that this is what those guys are. Alright, so I'm not 100% sure on these. I suspect a lot of these questions that I have are going to be answered when I get into the book. But these are very clearly part of your leveling up system. These are room locations, I believe. This has an element of you don't know what the room is until you've actually gone into it. Yeah, so these are, yes, your room locations and so forth. Because you're kind of like, it's supposed to give you kind of like that claustrophobic, like you're kind of stuck and you're being hunted down by things and you don't know what's going on. You're kind of in a panic, and so it's trying to replicate that, I'm going to say, alien feel. Rulebook, bit of a smaller size, which is nice. This is going to be the extended part of the rulebook, though. There we've got our nice layout of everything going on. Now, interesting. So I'm not going to push that in, but apparently that's supposed to be like that. I mean, it doesn't fit. I mean, I know it's kind of small, but seriously, it doesn't fit. Sorry, guys, but I know it's a small thing, but this is something you've custom made for your own game. It should fit. So, I was right. So, as I said, this is for the expansion. It is the rulebook still, by the look of it, though. There's alien profile cards as well. I mustn't have come through them yet. Nice. I mean, it's nice. The artwork's nice, but it's not too loud. Because sometimes with rule books, when they try to make them pretty, they make them so pretty that it's kind of hard to read them, and they've avoided that with this, which is good. Okay, this is something we all want to see right now. I might actually be able to have a game of this during the week. I'm going to have a closer look at that. Top secret files. I suspect this is missions and stuff. Yeah, this is missions and stuff. So, alien upgrades. So your aliens can get more powerful as well. And then we have our 3D terrain elements. This goes together and it's just a nice little representation. So if you're new to this sort of terrain, this sort of terrain has been around since, well, long before I was born. It's very, very simple, but it's also very easy to store. I'm not going to bother opening the tokens. Tokens are tokens to some extent. So I suspect that they are alien upgrades because I saw that symbol on the alien upgrades card. Health and or damage. Spawn. So this kind of does the same thing that Space Hulk does, is that you don't know what it is until you flip it over. At least I assume. Yeah. So you don't know what it is till you flip it over. Nice. I really love the artwork on these tokens. I mean, I know artwork is kind of subjective, but I really like the art style on them. I'm going to guess, and I think I'm right. Okay, this is clearly where things are supposed to be spawning. That is my prediction on those. This is very much items and so forth. There's nothing there. Billowing smoke. Okay, nice. So not every time you pull... It's not going to be a nightmare every time you pull this out. The only problem with decks where everything in the deck is bad is that then you just know that it's going to be bad. It doesn't really add to the tension. I mean, it does and it doesn't. So at least if there's a chance that you'll get something good, every time you pull that good one, the tension kind of gets higher because you don't know how long it's going to be until the worst happens. Interesting. So that's items. Oh no, they're all like that. Okay, never mind. I hadn't actually noticed because I was only looking from one side. But these item cards are double-sided, so obviously it's not a random thing, I'm guessing. Okay, lots and lots and lots of items. So, to give context, that's all of the items that you have in this. There was more in the original compared to everything else. It's a lot of items. There is this as well. These are the cards for the creatures. I was not opening those in the initial one, but now that I know what they are, and that there's nothing in here that's spoiling anything, The artwork in the background that's very, very faint there is actually the miniature, or at least the 3D representation of the miniature. As you can see, there was a number of models. Now, out of all of these, they were the most difficult to build. I'll come back to why as to later. Sorry, no. They were among. The most difficult one to build was this guy, who feels like a mixture between Alien and Doom. I really love the final look of this guy. This guy is just all kinds of creepy and gorgeous. But he kind of feels like Pinky from Doom, but mixed with Alien. Basically, the reason this guy was so difficult to build, if you end up buying this and you get these kits for yourself, there's a couple of things I'm going to recommend. First and foremost, read the instructions before you start cutting things out. I know that should be the way that most people do it, but a lot of people don't. There's a lot of parts in this that look very similar. And you've got more than one miniature on the sprue. So you kind of need to know what you're looking at. The other thing is that the instructions, while they're not horrible, they're not the best either. They kind of don't always show you exactly. It's just like, this bit goes here. And you kind of have to figure out sometimes how it's positioned. So dry fit everything. Even if you think you know how it's going to go, dry fit it anyway. Again, it's something that we should all do, but we get lazy with it. I'm with you. I mean, every problem I've had with this has come down to not doing the things that I know I should be doing. So, with this guy, these two mandibles are separate parts, just in case that's not super obvious, because it's quite a nice seam, honestly. This came on a completely different sprue, and you got two of this piece on one sprue. So my first question is why? And what I actually ended up doing, because I didn't realise this, because I was getting too comfortable at that point, is I was trying to get this to fit, and it wouldn't fit, because it does look almost exactly the same. It just goes slightly differently, and the folds almost meet up, but they don't, and I was getting very, very frustrated. It wouldn't look right. Thankfully, I was able to pull it back apart again and fix it, and the seam is really, really nice. I got really lucky, because given I had to pull this thing back apart, there should be bigger gaps in it than that. There is gaps in this model, but nothing overly drastic. I personally won't be filling this at all. I know that there are some people that probably would. I just don't feel the need for that at all. The final result of this, I think this might be my favourite mini of the entire box. It's just gorgeous. This one is another one that was interesting to put together. I didn't have as many problems with this one as I did the others. There's a couple of bits where you don't think they're going to fit, because you're going to have to push them in, and they almost click in like a transformer or something. But he's just gorgeous. Very, very unique. I don't know, it's like Falcor meets a centipede or something. This really feels like Ed 209 from RoboCop to me. I mean, I know that it's not. It's got tracks instead of legs, for example. This is another one where I had issues with... this had issues with part numbers. because some of the track numbers that you use on this don't match the numbers that are on the instructions. I believe it's these two parts that were swapped. I could be wrong on that though. So my advice on this is one part at a time. Don't glue anything until both tracks look right. Just dead honestly. Don't glue anything on the tracks until they look right. It might even be worth doing it directly on the base, as opposed to gluing it on the base afterwards, because that'll help you line everything up. This is another one where things kind of clicked into place. This here is all one piece, separate from the body. You can kind of see the seam in there, and that kind of clicks in. Was nice, satisfying click. I love these minis. This mini kind of almost looks like he's crashing into the ground, but he's not. He's like kind of doing a sweeping dive type thing. Dry fitting again. Dry fitting everything on this, but these parts in particular were a little bit of a challenge. Just trying to figure out exactly, because these are parts that the instructions don't really show you how it's supposed to go, and you kind of have to sit there and turn it and turn it and turn it until you feel that it's right. Don't glue it, just dry fit it, then glue it when you know which way around it goes. Those pieces in particular are a real challenge. If you can get it from this, please do. I'd be happy to help. I would argue that I think that's around the wrong way. I think that should be more positioned like this is. But there's not much I can do about it now. I mean, it doesn't look horrible. It's just very clearly that's the way around it's supposed to go. Another one that's... This was interesting to put together. The crotch section in this was kind of challenging. This is the one that you saw me building in the first video, most of which I tried to do under camera. That is quite challenging too. And something else that's just absolutely stunning. This is a challenge. Take your time with this and dry fit it. Again, getting overly confident, oh, it clearly is very easy, and then you get to about here and it's not quite as obvious anymore. I ended up having to pull this apart and do it again because it wasn't lining up with a glue point on the leg. But I love the fact that something that is so separate from the model actually has multiple glue points to hold it together, because it's not just glued to itself. It's glued up here, it's glued down here on the leg. In theory, if I had have realised, I probably could have glued that to the back of the leg down there. It doesn't quite meet up, but it's close. Same with these dreadlocks. They're actually... It's nice, long, flowing. It feels naturally in the way that it is. But it is actually glued in place in ways that if you weren't a hobbyist, you probably wouldn't notice. Now, I mentioned at the start of the video that I deliberately didn't look back up on the Kickstarter to figure out what it was supposed to be coming with, because I kind of wanted my surprise of what was coming in it to be part of the video. But this was the Navajo Guardians, and this is actually a multi-part kit. You can build different things with this. Now, the ironic thing is that I got 2 of each of the boxes that these came in, because obviously there's chances that you'll get multiples, I suppose. I only have 1 box of these, and you could build on these for quite a while. Now, I'll give you a look up close as to the ones that I chose to build. This is our little captain guy. This headdress will actually fit on most of the heads. This here is quite challenging, getting all of this lined up. This here is another part that really isn't explained in the instructions very well, because it says that the hand connects onto the body, which has unfortunately come apart during the drying process, I've just noticed. So I'll have to put some green stuff in that. But it doesn't actually show you where it's supposed to go on the gun, because the images always end up being like this and that, and you don't actually see how it looks in the end. You know that it goes here somewhere, but until you get this connected on, it's really, really hard trying to figure it out. The instructions around these models need some improvement, some significant improvement. The final result, I mean, the minis here are absolutely gorgeous. There's no question about that. But the instructions on these guns really need to be looked at again. They're not very easy to pick up on at all. Like, value for money wise, this is insane. I don't understand how Archon made money on this. There's just so much that came with this. And again, keep in mind that this was just the stretch goal portion of what I received. There's a whole third video of me unboxing the original thing from a year and a half ago. Like, the value for money that you got out of this is insanely good. I can tell you first and foremost, I want some more of these. I'd love to build these up for Stargrave or something. Like, seriously. I only have 3 of them. I'd love to have another 3 or 4 boxes. Thank you very much for watching this video. The Getting Tabled crew would like to thank everybody that supports us, whether that be through something as simple as liking and subscribing, or sharing these videos with people that you think would enjoy them, or especially to those that support us on Patreon. It's something that we can never say enough how much we appreciate it. If you're in a position to do so, please check out our Patreon. If you're not, that's fine. It's only $2 a month. If you would like to get in touch with the crew, then you are welcome to do that. You can get in touch with us at gettingtabled@gmail.com. Perhaps you have questions about what we enjoy in the hobby. Perhaps you've got something you would like us to cover. Reach out to the team through here and you will get a response. You can also connect with us on Facebook. When it comes to social media, that is our most active platform. It's where everything gets shared first. We do also have a Twitter and an Instagram. They are both used, not as actively as Facebook, but they are both used. Both of them are at Getting Tabled. Play more.